It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Yeah, I had to bust out the
Luka jersey.
I had worn it one time prior to today.
Are you serious?
Now, in fairness, I only wore it when I went and saw a Mavs game. And that was in 2022. So I had more opportunities to wear it. I just didn't. But it's just funny I got one use out of it before he was traded to the Lakers.
Oh man. I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. But I will say it's one of those jerseys that that will be a relevant jersey. You could keep that.
Honestly,
that
I feel like it's almost more relevant than the Lakers jersey.
Yeah.
In a strange way,
yeah.
All the Dallas fans still have an attachment to him, which you can't really blame them. Yeah, so anyway, we start out talking about the Luka jersey, episode 24 of NBA Campfire. We have one episode left coming next week. But for today, we are doing something a little different. We aren't covering a game. We aren't covering a season. We aren't covering a documentary series. We are going to be covering 25 years worth of NBA trades. And we're going to start with the Luka Doncic trade, which in February 2025, there was really no forecasting at all that this was going to happen. No rumors about him being shopped, no rumors about discussions, no rumors. I mean, you heard some of the discontent coming from Dallas just about how seriously is he working on his conditioning, and is he an injury risk, and what weight is he coming into the season at? But there was never a thought in my mind that was going to lead to just a completely out of thin air trade.
Yeah.
That would just flip the NBA upside down.
Yeah, we were getting the little mini bites from the media, specifically probably around the finals, right? So they go to the finals the year before, and there was some disappointment in the way he defended and maybe some of his antics with the refs and some of his coming into the season maybe a little overweight, his injuries and what was causing his injuries, a lot of hamstring injury, is it because he was overweight? It's clearly probably not the case now, knowing what we know now. But no, there was nothing. I mean, he was without a doubt. I would say if the night before the trade you asked any true NBA fan, give me 5 guys who are untouchable, he would have.
I was thinking about.
He would have been one of them. It would have been probably him, Jokic, SG,
Wemby, Shea.
and I don't even know who else. Maybe Tatum,
I think those are the 4.
Maybe Tatum at the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. Coming off of the finals, Tatum was probably like, and even Tatum might have been like a distant fifth.
Yeah.
Like I think those first four were like almost on their own tier.
Yep. Yep. So no, you had no clue, and then like the way it happened too, it happens in the middle of the night. Like, and there's just something to that. It's not like breaking news at 3:00. It's almost as if Nico Harrison, and I think we covered this a little bit on Modern Flame, just the trade, but it's almost as if he thought that if he did it at midnight, no one would find out or something. Like, I don't...
Like, the news cycle just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, anything that happened, like, that's like Area 51. Like,
Yeah.
if you go in there, like, it doesn't matter what, like, you just get lost. No, that's not how it works.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, the structure of the trade, Luka goes to LA for Anthony Davis, and, you know, they get Max Christie and picks. The Lakers receive Luka, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris, not to be confused with his brother. And then I think the Jazz facilitated it with some small assets, but I mean, just it was a shocking trade. It was shocking, one, that it was done. It was shocking that if you're going to trade someone like that you didn't shop him around to see like what you could have gotten for him. I think Pelinka was in Nico Harrison's head and was like,
"Oh yeah,
don't tell anybody that this is happening, or else it's gonna get, nulled." And I don't know what he did, but he moved in silence, and he was a killer.
Yeah, Rob Pelinka was fucking lasagna, moving in silence like a real G.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, for him to hoodwink Nico the way he did, because really, like, one of two things could happen if the trade gets out, right? Like, it's either it starts a bidding war because Luka is available, and that hurts the Lakers' position.
Right.
Because then their offer of Anthony Davis and 2 first-round picks, like, that's not going to be enough. Somebody else is going to swoop in more than that.
Pause? Like, the summer before the year started, Mikal Bridges went to New York for 5 first-round picks.
Right.
So, like, that's where the market is. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So, who knows how high that's going to get for Luka. So that's reason number 1 why you wouldn't want that trade to get out if you're Rob Pelinka. Reason number 2 is just that he forecasted the reaction of everybody to the trade, which was Mavs fans are going to try to throw themselves in front of this deal, and probably people within the organization are going to be like, "No, what are we doing, Nico? Calm down. Yeah. Have a sip of settle down juice right now. Like, you need to relax." But yeah, so anyway, I just pulled it up. I went back to our text messages, actually, to the night that he got traded. So I woke up the morning after, a Sunday morning, to, I believe, 4 text messages. One from our Uncle Joe, one from our cousin Phil, one from our friend Dr. Colin Stucco, and you. And you just texted, "Bro, are you up? ? I woke up at 7:01, and here are the 3 messages that I sent in succession. Whoa, holy fuck, just saw it. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking stunned, LOL. Dude, I'm not awake enough for this yet."
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah.
And then we had a discussion about like what like.
Yeah, take me into real time, Vinney, there, because I remember being up and it happening and waking my wife up, who didn't care at all, and being like, "No, please listen." Like,
you don't understand.
Still shocked. I mean, it clearly doesn't work out at all for the Mavericks. I suppose maybe the NBA, go into some deep conspiracy theories here into the draft lottery, and the idea for why the Lakers wanted Luka was clearly LeBron isn't going to play forever. He might be able to, but I think that he'll probably decide to go spend time with Savannah and Zuri and his kids, and they needed a superstar. So obviously it made perfect sense for LA. They needed the superstar, and you think maybe the league was like, hey, we give this to LA, we'll get you Cooper. I don't believe that. That's just the conspiracy theory out there. But it just doesn't make sense to where Dallas was going. They say that they wanted to go all in on defense because Nico believed defense wins championships, and he wanted a defensive anchor, and that's what you get with AD. But AD doesn't go more than 24 minutes without hurting his calf, and he doesn't play the rest of the year for them. So I guess that was like the one bright spot is AD gets hurt, and then you tank and you get Cooper.
So yes, no, you're absolutely. I laugh, but if you're searching for the silver lining from a Mavericks perspective, that's all it is. That's all it is that it landed them Cooper Flag, and Flag has had an excellent rookie year. He's going to be fantastic throughout his career moving forward. They didn't trade for Cooper Flag.
No.
That happened by accident.
Right.
If the deal was Anthony Davis and somehow the Lakers had stumbled into the number one pick, and you're trading, you're trading for that pick, then it's like, okay, we can lump Cooper Flag into this. That's what we got out of the Luka deal. Even then, I still don't necessarily think it's a good trade. You're trading a guy who is just on an absolute historic tear to begin his career. In the playoffs, 50 games for the Mavericks he's played in the playoffs. Took him to a finals, took him to a conference finals. Averaging 31, 9.5 rebounds, 8 assists per game. 10 more playoff games in his first 6 seasons than Dirk played for Dallas. And they're different players. They had different teams around them, obviously, but still, the arrow was trending up, and regardless of how that final series ended against Boston, he still put up 30 a game in that series and hit big shots along the way to get them there. There's just no rationale, especially okay, Nico Harrison says the Mavericks want a defensive anchor, but he also says that availability is part of this. In what world are you getting more availability out of Anthony Davis than Luka Doncic?
You aren't.
You aren't. And not only that, but AD is 7 years older than Luka, I believe. And for the record, Anthony Davis played a grand total of 29 games before the Mavs traded him to the Washington Wizards this year. So they got 29 games out of Anthony Davis.
Yeah. And just I'm stumbling over myself here, but just other business wise. So that's something I looked up. So Luka ranks in the top 5 in jersey sales throughout his entire career in Dallas. He was without a doubt Dallas's number one. Exactly. Boom, right there. Ticket sales dropped about 40% after the trade. And the Dallas 24-year streak of sellouts ended the same season. There was so many negatives that came from this.
It's for Nico Harrison, too. He doesn't have a job anymore.
Pelinka brought him out to the water, took advantage of him, and threw him in there. Sorry, bud. Nice knowing you. I mean, yeah,
It was like the scene in Godfather 2 when they bring Fredo out in the boat. Like,
yeah, yep.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no explanation for why they did it. You know, but they did it, and it's without a doubt one of the best or biggest, I shouldn't say best, but biggest trades in sports history, not just the NBA. Um, we'll see what the ripple effects of this are. I mean, we already kind of see a little bit of it. I mean, Dallas ends up with the one pick last year. Like you said, Anthony Davis only plays 29 games with Dallas before he gets traded to Washington. I don't want to put you on the spot, but they didn't get like a haul for Anthony Davis in that Washington trade. So it's not like, well, they ended up with 4 first-round picks or something like that. Obviously, Kyrie getting hurt doesn't help as well. But then on the flip side, you go to the Lakers results, and the Lakers immediately start to shift upwards in offense. Last year, they end up the season third in the West. I don't think anyone thought that was going to be a thing. And then going into this year, it was like, their roster isn't what it needs to be, and there's really no way that this team works. And prior to his injury last week, they were sitting in third again in the West, and gonna win over 50 games back-to-back years. He was a candidate for MVP. I don't think he was a front runner, but he was within the top 4, I believe, in the straw polls.
he had forced his way into the conversation.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so and not to mention the fact that he comes into this year with the revenge body. Like, oh, you're talking all this about me, huh? I mean, some people say that it's like 35 to 40 pounds that he lost. He looked great. He had a dunk a couple weeks ago. His defensive effort was significantly better this year. So yeah, not a good look for Dallas, but without a doubt one of the biggest trades in NBA and sports history.
So I need someone to do that to me before my wedding. I need someone to like slander me in the media and be like, man, Sonny, it's looking like Sonny's going to go into this wedding a little overweight. There's some concerns here. So I could spend the summer before getting my revenge body going on.
Pull the Michael Finley and take the beer from you.
Yes, yeah, that's why I need to. How do I get a hold of Michael Finley? So Dallas gets back in the Anthony Davis trade. They get Tyus Jones. They get Marvin Bagley, A.J. Johnson, Chris Middleton, 2 second-round picks, 2 first-round picks, but they're both protected. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're not. It is a absolute catastrophe.
So right now, what you're saying
really
is
no
that
way
the
around
Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic for Max Christie, Tyus Jones, Marvin Bagley, Chris Middleton, 3 protected firsts and 2 seconds. Like that, it's just that's a package that you put around, a really nice big when you're trying to compete for a championship midway through the year, not your franchise player. It's unacceptable. It's why he got fired, and he did. I think that another thing that played into it was its new ownership.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know if this happens if Cuban is the owner. He says it doesn't.
I love Cuban. Cuban coming in off the top rope, just being like, "Yeah, I would have never done it." Like, why just sell a team, man? Like you don't get to be a part of this conversation.
Right, exactly, and just while we're on the topic, like I love when he was like, I'm going to sell the team. I'm still going to run the the basketball part. No, you're not. Like that's not how it works. No. I don't sell my house, but I get to decide when I cut the lawn. Like that's just. It doesn't work that way, because I would be pissed. I bought my house 2 years ago. If the owner was telling me how to cut my lawn, we're going to have to throw hands. That's not how it works, Cuban. Good try, though. Just like everything.
That's strictly, I'm a billionaire, and I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
That's the only a billionaire would be like, would even try that.
Yep. And we're gonna get into it. We have we're gonna go through, as you mentioned, all of the trades throughout the last 25 years. Did anything come close to this? And we don't have to get into the specifics of that trade, but like I don't even think that there was another trade that even comes close to the shock value and also the like clear winner.
Okay. So definitely no with the shock value, in my opinion. This, to me, was the most stunning trade in sports that I can remember. And part of that is, like we said, like there was nothing.
Right.
It was radio silence. There was no indication that Luka was about to be traded. So that's part of it. Now, going through all of the 25 years, there were some big trades that like maybe weren't one-sided like this one, but like swung things in a very clear, very major way, where those trades might even end up being more consequential than this one, because there's no guarantee that the Lakers win a title. There's no guarantee that the Mavericks
don't, by
looking into Cooper Flag, don't get back in the playoff mix next year. There are trades that we're going to get to that, like, indisputably swung at least one time.
I guess my question was more just, like, right as the trade. Like, whoa, that team wins.
No.
I don't think that there's...
I don't think so. Going through all the trades of the last 25 years, there wasn't one that I saw where, like... it was that clear.
And like
now,
you mentioned,
maybe as we talk through some things here, like it might, we might find something that comes close, but I really don't think that there's going to be one that tops it.
And I think there are trades that, like you said, swing things even more, but just I guess I understood where that GM was coming from.
There's no rationale with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there was nothing really with his play that indicated this is a guy you should move off of. The fan base absolutely adored him. So you're going to piss people off by making this deal. There's no parallel to it.
No.
There's not. Like, we could go through every single one of these trades, and there's no good comparison to it.
No.
So before we get into it, what kind of criteria did you use with this? Because I realized after we did our planning call, we never talked about a criteria. It was just kind of like, let's each nominate what the biggest trade of the year was. But in your mind, as you were picking, what was like the deciding factor for you? Was it the shock value in the moment? Was it this trade is just like fun to think about for me? Was it this trade swung a title? Was it?
I feel bad because it's all the above. Bulls? It's like all the above because we talked about this a little bit in the planning portion. There are some years that there's a lot to choose from. There are some years that there's not that many trades that are impactful. So I felt like my category shifted from year to year. Like if there was a fun trade that maybe wasn't that impactful 1 year, I would choose that. But then if there was a trade that I thought was very impactful 4 years later, I would choose that. So probably not what you wanted to hear, is that I basically didn't have a criteria, but it was just
No, I'm
whatever.
actually relieved.
Okay,
I'm
good.
relieved because that was the same thing I did.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
I was gonna tinker with mine if you did something
No.
like
Nope.
if you were firm with how you did it.
No.
Okay. So one thing I should know, I didn't do this by NBA season. I did it by calendar year.
I believe I did the same.
Okay, perfect. Do you want to start with so 2025? The obvious winner is the Luka trade.
Yep.
Just as a couple honorable mentions, we did have the De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio trade. That sent Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and a 2025 first-round pick to Chicago. Zach LaVine, City Sissoko, 3 future first-round picks, 3 future second-round picks to Sacramento. We had that one in 2025. We also had the KD trade, the 7-teamer that sent him to Houston. But unless you're very invested in your man Maluach from Duke or David Big Body Roddy, Luka still has the edge.
Yeah.
In 2025.
I think Luka still has the edge there. All right, well, let's get into it. And I'll go, you'll go. If we match, we could just kind of review it together. So this might be a outside the box pick, but in 24. The Indiana Pacers trade for Pascal Siakam. And the trade that sends Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks to Toronto. I guess not the pairing, but putting Pascal on that Pacers team completely shifts to me the way you looked at the Pacers. The Pacers were a really fun team. They could score. Halliburton, runs a great offense, and they made the move to get Halliburton, a couple of years before. But I felt like when they went and they traded for Pascal, it was kind of like the signal that they were in and they were trying to win now. And I thought he was a perfect fit. I still think he's going to be a perfect fit for them. It wasn't like a all in on 1 year. I think it's a great pairing with Halliburton and the 2 other guards, Nesmith and Nembhard. He could play almost small ball 5. He was great in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. I love the pick. I know it's not a sexy name, but he's produced since he's gotten there, and he's still good this year.
Strangely enough, that's the one I picked too.
Perfect.
Which you have the Karl Anthony Towns trade to New York and Julius Randle going to Minnesota. That's sitting right there, and that's why I asked for the criteria, because the first one I'm looking at here, I'm like, okay, I definitely went with the more funky option.
Right.
But I'm just endlessly fascinated by the Pacers. I am so happy they traded for Zubac. I really hope that they end up keeping that pick that they protected 5 through 9 in the Clippers trade. I hope that they get that and can add another piece to it. I want them to be good. It does not bode well for the Cavs in the city that I live in, but I just want more good teams. And that Indiana team was so much fun. And to me, trading for Siakam, kind of like what you said, it signaled that they believed okay, we're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to make that next step. We're not just a frisky 5 seed. We're a team that is going to be contending in the Eastern Conference year in and year out, so long as we have this core of Halliburton, Siakam. At the time, I think we thought Miles Turner was probably going to be part of that, but they pivot off him. I think Zubac is going to, I think him and Halliburton are going to have fantastic pick and roll chemistry next year. So yeah, that was my pick too. The only other honorable mention I had besides the Towns trade, Josh Giddey, going from Oklahoma City to Chicago
Caruso.
for Alex Caruso.
Yep.
Kind of a similar sort of deal where Oklahoma City is signaling like, okay, we're ready to take our big swing. We think that this could be a guy that, logs big minutes in the playoffs, brings us to a point where we're a legitimate championship contender. But yeah, I went with the Siakam one. To me, like I said, I love everything the Pacers have done the last couple years. We're going to be talking about them quite a bit next week, so we can not necessarily step on that. Okay, 2023. So now do I go first?
Yeah. We'll flip flop a little bit.
Okay, this was a year where there were actually a number of compelling choices to choose from. Ultimately, I went with one that I think is probably at face value the least interesting of this whole group that I had together. I did the Drew Holiday trade, going from Portland to Boston. Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, 2 first-round picks go to Portland. This trade, in addition to being, kind of Boston's missing piece, getting Holiday in there, that one of the 2 first-round picks that Portland got, they flipped to Washington for Denny Avdia. So if you're just playing out the kind of ripple effects of this deal, it nets Portland Avdia. Boston gets their missing piece. Washington they get Bub Carrington, and they have to deal with it.
It's funny. I almost mentioned this trade when you were talking about the Caruso trade. It almost kind of put them over the top where it was like, this is unfair. And it's weird because when you think of Drew Holiday, you think of Alex Caruso. It's not like they are, Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, but the piece that team needed, they fit so well. And it just let the stars do what the stars do, and they kind of handle all of the scraps. So I think that's a great pick. It led to a championship, and he was great for Boston. So great pick. I chose Kyrie to Dallas. And what really kind of got me there was I know that he got off to a rough start and they didn't make the playoffs in year 1 with him and Luka. But then him and Luka paired together for their first full year, get them to a championship. And more than that, I felt like it completely rejuvenated Kyrie's career. Kyrie was coming off a stint where he requested a trade to Boston. He leaves Boston when he says he wasn't. And then I felt like his time in Brooklyn was kind of a disaster. Some his fault, some not his fault. And it felt like his outlook was a little bleak. His career was kind of going in the wrong direction. And then once he gets paired with Luka, I felt like he becomes like the adult in the room where now Dallas is singing his praises on how good of a leader he is. And he starts to perform at an all-star level again. Goes back to the finals with Luka. So probably a biased pick, but I just felt like it rejuvenated one of the best point guards in our league, who... people were saying he could have been out of the league. And now it's like there's not even a chance for that.
We talked about it. I don't remember what episode it was, but a few weeks back we talked about how, and I think you mentioned it. You said it reached a point with LeBron where he didn't want to be the little brother anymore. Mm-hmm. And then he went to Brooklyn with KD, and it kind of felt like, to continue with the brother analogy, like they're twins. It's almost like they're like on even footing. Even though Durant has the 2 titles and Finals MVP, they went there like as a package deal. Then he goes to Dallas, and now he's past 30. he's the veteran voice in the room. He could be the big brother.
Right.
So it does all make sense that like you give him and Luka a little bit of time, and they're now all of a sudden in the finals, which makes the Luka trade even worse. But you made a good point. Like his trade value, it's him and Markieff Morris go to Dallas, and it's for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, 1 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For, just like, if we're just looking at talent alone, one of the most incredibly talented guards that we've ever seen in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, no, that's a good pick. Like I said, I sensed that I was going to be in the minority with the Drew Holiday one because we have James Harden to the Clippers in 2023. We have Damian Lillard to Milwaukee in 2023. We have Kevin Durant to Phoenix in 2023. So plenty of big names on the move. Okay, how about 2022? Who you got?
So in 2022, I have, I think you're going to be happy with this one. I have Donovan Mitchell going to the Land. So it's Hall, and they do give up marketing. They give up 2025 first round pick, 2026 pick swap, 2027 first round pick, 2028 pick swap, 2029 first round pick. Now, with that being said, it really puts Cleveland in the post-LeBron, but we're going to compete era. I don't know if Cleveland has ever really been relevant since LeBron joined originally in 2003 without LeBron. So to have another superstar come to Cleveland and make a footprint that they're going to be a solid team as long as he's there, and you put them around some young bigs. They had Garland at the time. I thought it was a great trade, and it really it is something that Cleveland needed to do to get out of the LeBron shadow.
Yeah, so this is ultimately the one that I picked. And I think this actually might have been the most difficult year to settle on one. Because you have that one, and obviously I have a bias living in Cleveland, having seen Mitchell in person now a bunch, and really, appreciating his game before the trade,
right.
But, really, really falling in love with him as a player post-trade. But in 2022, you have the Mitchell trade. You also have the Gobert trade.
Yeah.
Which, that's Utah saying, okay, we ran with the Gobert-Mitchell team as far as we could. We're going in the tank, and they're still in the tank. Trying
to figure that out.
Yeah, they're still piecing it together. Maybe Ace Bailey's the guy. Who knows? We also have the Halliburton for Sabonis trade.
Oh yeah,
which was
That's
just that.
Trade.
I mean, that was a crazy one, and obviously Halliburton goes there, brings them to the finals a few years later. Sabonis was such a big part of the Light the Beam in Sacramento, so that one deserved at least a shout out. The toughest one for me, though, is actually the Harden to Philadelphia and Ben Simmons to Brooklyn deal, just because so much of the discourse for multiple months leading up to it was who's going to blink first?
Right.
Are the Sixers going to are they really going to give up on Ben Simmons, this young asset? Is Brooklyn gonna break up this trio of him and Kyrie and Durant? And then it just ended up being bad for everybody, so that's why I didn't pick it. Nobody won that trade. I think it's fair to say. So that's why Mitchell to Cleveland. And
What did Brooklyn get? Or I'm sorry, what did Philly get for Harden? Or did his contract run out? Did they trade?
Okay, so when Philly traded Harden, that was 2023. They trade him to the Clippers. A 2027 first round pick goes to Oklahoma City. And then Philadelphia gets Nick Batum, Robert Covington, Kenyon Martin Jr., Marcus Morris Sr., 2 first round picks, 2 second round picks, 1 pick swap.
Okay. So they probably win the trade just based on what they get, because I don't think Brooklyn gets anything for Simmons.
No, I mean, well, Brooklyn does get 2 first round picks in that original deal, Simmons for Harden. But
okay.
I still don't think that there's a winner in that deal.
No, there's not.
The rare everybody loses trade. But yeah, Mitchell goes to Cleveland and they're instantly up a tier in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they win 64 games a couple years later, and they're going to go into the East with more than a puncher's chance this year to win the conference. In addition, like Markkanen, who the hell knows what Utah is going to do with Markkanen? To me, he's a guy that, like, he's still reasonably young. It seems like he has a game that should age pretty well.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
they could hang on to him for the next era when they're ready to stop tanking. Like,
I think they made that decision already. I think they're done tanking. They're going for it.
Because they traded for Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, they traded for Triple J. But also, like, Markkanen was, a huge trade piece the last couple of years. He was a very marketable player. Golden State was after him. There were a couple other teams that were really serious about signing him. And he got that max. So he's a max player. He's a high-level scorer. Interested to see what they do with all those bigs, but no, I mean he's a piece in that trade. It wasn't just the Donovan Mitchell trade. He's a piece there for sure.
And 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps. Like, that's not.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Something to scoff at. Okay, 2021.
All right, so in 2021, I went back and forth on this because it's a trade that doesn't pan out, but we just got done covering it. It was such a big media story that I'll go James Harden to the Nets. They give up Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, and Karis LeVert, who were all really solid on the Nets the year before, got them to the playoffs. It was a part of the reason why KD and Kyrie chose to go to Brooklyn. So, you kind of figured it was coming. It was also the moment in time where we weren't sure if Harden just gained a bunch of weight or if he was wearing like a fat suit. Like, there is all of that stuff going on. Just a bonkers couple of weeks in the NBA, so I had to pick Harden.
That was the one that I had. There really wasn't too much competition for it. The only honorable mention I had was Kemba Walker for Al Horford, the OKC Boston trade, which doesn't really move the needle a whole bunch. But yeah, the end of Harden's Houston tenure was just weird. Like you said, like the whole weight gain thing, like he was on the Luka Doncic pre-trade diet, I think, which is the Sonny Giuliano all the time diet. And just like looking at things beyond that, Jarrett Allen goes to Cleveland. He's still there. He's a centerpiece of that team, beloved in Northeast Ohio. I think you might be able to make the case the most beloved Cavs center since Big Z.
Big Z. Oh God.
I think you could make that case. And we talked about the Brooklyn hypothetical team a couple weeks ago. Like, there are so many what ifs with that particular team where if one thing goes their way, we could be looking at this trade in a completely different light, where Houston, like, they get Dante Exum, they get Victor Oladipo, they get a buttload of picks, but like, you trade a guy who has been an MVP, who has led the league in scoring multiple times, who's taken you to the Western Conference Finals, and you just decide to move off that. Like, if that would have panned out in Brooklyn, I think we'd be looking at this a whole lot differently. And it wouldn't be like well, it failed, but it was still kind of big at the time. It would be like, okay, this trade swung a title.
Yep. Without a doubt.
2020, it's like COVID stopped all these teams. Even pre-COVID at the trade deadline, there was nothing interesting with 2020. Really, the only two options I had were John Wall and a 2023 first to Houston for Russell Westbrook, which led to that one weird, like, 2.5-month stint where Westbrook was playing for Washington.
Yep.
Or maybe even a little longer than that. It was COVID times. Shit was weird back then. Or Andrew Wiggins getting traded to Golden State for D'Angelo Russell, Jacob Evans, Amari Spellman. I guess I'll go with Wiggins to Golden State. Like, that feels like a kind of a weak choice for the year, but like, he was probably the second or third best player on that 2022 title team for the Warriors. So
I'm sneaking this one in because it happened.
Okay, yeah, give me one off the board. Maybe I missed something.
I'm sneaking one in late because it happened late, but Drew Holiday to the Bucks.
Where did I miss that?
I believe so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I believe.
No, I think you're right. Because look at.
Yeah, the Bucks add Holiday and Sam Merrill in exchange for Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks. So.
Skipped right past that.
Sorry.
Thank you for fact-checking me.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot, but I feel like we landed on the right pick, because that is, without question, the right pick.
When you said there wasn't a lot of good ones, I was like, I think this one kind of jumps out at me. But yeah, no, it was tough. I will say the research for this pod that you had to do a lot. But no, it's very similar to your pick with Drew Holiday. Filled all the boxes, similar to the trade that you discussed when he went to Boston. But I felt like he just, let the Stars in Milwaukee do what they needed to do, did all the dirty work, and won his first championship. And in only a couple of years. I mean, talk about, like, what a weird ride for Drew Holiday. Like, traded, 4 times, I believe, right? Because he had made 2 stops, I think, in Portland. Yeah, just and won 2 championships. So, yeah, I will go Drew Holiday for 2020, but it was a wacky year, so you could forget easy.
I also, thinking back on it, I think I might have left that one off because I had already picked
Drew Holiday
trade. That's no excuse. I've listed other guys on, like, I have, 4 different James Harden ones. But in addition to what you said, 2 gold medals too.
Yeah.
Like, he very sneaky, has had a really solid, role player kind of plus career. Like, it feels weird to call him a role player. Like, it
Right.
seems like he does more than a Derek Fisher.
Yeah.
But he's also not the star of your team by any means.
He's like a 3-ish type guy. I don't know if he's on the level of a Bosch or a Kevin Love. Maybe he is, though, honestly. He's that impactful on both ends.
I would say definitely Kevin Love. I think I'm just partial to Bosch. I love everything he did in Miami, and we talked about that in one of our Heat episodes.
Yeah.
But no, Holiday, great player. Great call out by you to correct me on missing that one. Let's go to 2019.
2019. At the time, this was another one that happened kind of middle of the night. I woke up to this one because I think it was the middle of the night West Coast time.
Can I pause real quick?
Yeah.
This 2019 has 4 trades that in just about any other year would without question be the choice. So what you're going to pick here is going to be right, but I'm also going to find a way to rebuttal it.
I love it.
Just because you can. There's
Right.
no pick that is like completely unassailable. There's also no pick that is completely wrong.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
proceed.
So at the time, it was known as the Paul George trade, which, again, at the time, that they had just signed Kawhi Leonard, and the idea was that they were going to sign Kawhi, but it was already kind of known they were going to be bringing in Paul George to join him with the Clippers. The Thunder received Danilo Gallinari, who was on my team that I drafted last week. Shout out.
International players draft, baby.
Right. They received 4 first-round picks. They received another first-round pick that was protected, and then 2 more swaps. So in total, 7 first-round picks. Danilo Gallinari, and then some guy, he's like a rookie, his name's Shea.
Canadian kid, right?
Yeah, I don't know, he probably won't last.
No.
But SGA goes to OKC for Paul George, and he gets 7 first-round picks to come with him. Who, obviously, in my opinion, will probably review this on Modern Flame, but SGA is my pick to go back-to-back MVP. The Thunder are my pick to win the championship. So we're talking about a guy who's going to win back-to-back MVPs and championships in the trade for Paul George. So I'll go with SGA.
So that was my pick. And like I said, you could make a strong case for Anthony Davis to the Lakers.
Yeah, won a championship.
For Chris Paul getting traded to Oklahoma City for Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
For Jimmy Butler getting traded to Miami. But I agree with you. The correct pick is the Paul George to LA, and the Shea Gilgeous.
It's either Shea or Shy. I can't figure it out.
Shy?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at this now, I actually think that this trade, what it's going to net for the Thunder, is actually more lopsided than the Luka trade for LA.
I would agree, without a doubt.
We already have a title. You have 7 either first-round picks or swaps, and you have a guy who is probably on track right now, already maybe one of the 30 greatest players in NBA history, which will seem sudden, I think, for a lot of people, but SGA has been averaging like 30 points per game for the last 5 years and has probably 2 MVPs coming up and a finals MVP, and just broke a Wilt Chamberlain scoring record,
Yep.
which never happens.
Right.
Because it was 60 years ago and those records still stand, but he broke one. So that is the correct pick. But with that said, Anthony Davis to the Lakers, that nets the Lakers a championship.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
Yeah.
1 year later, they win a
Absolutely.
title. Jimmy Butler to Miami, that nets Miami a finals trip 1 year later. And another one 2 years, 3 years after that. So hell of a group to choose from. That is like
And
Forrest
the
Gump,
Westbrook
Pulp
one
Fiction,
too.
and Shawshank all being nominated for Best Picture in 1994.
Right, without a doubt. And the Westbrook one too, though. Like, don't like
Right.
that's and that obviously didn't have the impact, but it was like an end of an era. You know, I thought he was going to be there forever. I kind of wish he would have been, but what are you gonna do? So
You know what I'm like sneaky hoping for? I'm hoping that KD and Russ reunite when Seattle gets a team and they do their last year with the Sonic. And you know what? Throw Harden in there too. Even though they're already Oklahoma City when they drafted Harden, just get those three for 1 year in Seattle.
yeah, that's like
Sign me up.
that's like a rom com, a rom
Yeah.
basketball movie, and I'm for it. I am for it. All right, I think you're up for
Yes, 2018. Now, there are two interesting draft ones, neither of which I chose. There's the draft night trade that sent Luka to Dallas and Trae Young to Atlanta. There's also what looks horrible in retrospect. The Charlotte Hornets trading Shy. Did we settle on
I
Shy?
think Shy.
We just calling him SGA. Okay.
We'll call him SGA.
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 He goes to the Clippers in a draft night deal for Miles Bridges and 2 second-round picks. However, I think the only choice you could make here is Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto, DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected first-round pick to San Antonio. We have talked about this trade numerous times. I continue to wish that Kawhi would have just re-upped for 1 year with Toronto after. You make that face and laugh at me every time because it's just pie in the sky. It was never going to happen. But another deal that immediately pays off. Toronto wins a title in their 1 year with Kawhi Leonard. He pieces out, goes to LA, but still, like, he'll get his number retired in Toronto for 1 season.
Yeah, I think you can make an argument. This is the biggest gamble that ever paid off in NBA history.
Yes, great call.
Maybe not like the biggest trade, but like again, maybe you're right, and maybe there was a chance that, you know, if they won and the sun was shining and Kawhi's knees felt pretty, he would have stayed. I don't think anyone.
Time out. His knees felt pretty?
Yeah, feeling good.
What does that even mean?
Feeling juice. He's feeling all juiced up. He's good to go. I don't think though there was ever a chance that he was gonna stay. Like ever. I think he knew that. I think Toronto knew that. I think San Antonio knew that. I think the Lakers knew that, and I think the Clippers knew that. So for Toronto to part ways with top, I don't want to say the top player. That's insulting to Vince. But would you say at that time he was their second best player ever? DeRozan?
I mean, yes, I think that Vince is obviously their most like iconic player. I think when DeRozan is traded, he's their franchise leading scorer, if I'm correct.
He is.
So like you could make a case that, and also been to an Eastern Conference Finals, which Vince never got there, Bosch never got there. Like really, if we're looking at the totality of a player's career in Toronto, all due respect to Kawhi, who was the best single season player they had, it's DeRozan, Lowry, Bosch, and Vince Carter.
Yeah. Right. So
if you're just looking at the whole body of work.
Right.
Kawhi, his 1 season brings them a championship. It puts him in a different stratosphere, but it's not like DeRozan was just some slouch who
No, that's what I mean.
Throw in like he's a perennial all-star, 25 point per game scorer, like
Yeah. So I mean, to give up, you know, potentially your best franchise player for a guy who you know is going to be there for a year, it's a huge gamble, and they capitalize on it.
in addition to that, you don't know what his health is going to be like either.
No,
He had just played 9 games for San Antonio the year before.
yeah, and his honestly,
I think
his
he
health
won
wasn't that
9.
great.
Right, exactly.
So
I mean, they had him on he played 60 games for them that regular season.
Mhm.
And then played just a shitload of minutes in the playoffs and took a million shots. But, they handled it the right way. And like I said, we covered that. Yeah, that was chalk.
Yep.
2017, who you got?
So in 2017, I have the LA Clippers trading Chris Paul to the Houston Rockets. There were so many thoughts that went on in my head. Well, I was a big Chris Paul fan. I didn't like it. I didn't know how it was going to work with Harden. Harden at that time was, dominating in Houston, but he was also dominating the ball in Houston. So wasn't sure on how it was going to work. The Clippers got back Pat Bev, Lou Will, Sam Decker, Montrezl Harrell, Duran Hilliard, DeAndre Liggins, Kyler Wilter, and I think a first-round pick. Interesting, that year would have been the SGA kid's rookie year. So he could have potentially played with Chris Paul in LA. It's just, to me, too big of a trade to not put in this year.
That was my pick. There are a couple other interesting ones, but even though Paul only spent 2 years in Houston, there was just more success than Kyrie going to Boston for 2 years. That trade happens. And that was obviously huge because you're breaking up a Cavs team that had just been to 3 straight championships, or 3 straight finals series, rather. They win 1 championship. Isaiah Thomas is part of that trade after he finishes top 5 in MVP out of nowhere for Boston. That's an interesting one. The Jimmy Butler to Minnesota trade is another one that happened in 2017. Paul George to Oklahoma City.
Yep, that was big.
The one that I actually had listed as my honorable mention to Chris Paul was the weird DeMarcus Cousins to New Orleans trade
with Anthony Davis.
When the Pelicans just went all in on big ball.
Yep.
With Cousins and AD. That trade happened on my birthday. We were having a birthday celebration at my parents' house, and that trade happened as the party was going on. I was actually eating ice cream cake, taking a bite of it when I saw that the Pelicans had traded for him.
You go cashews in that, or do you go nuts in the ice cream cake, or no nuts?
Hold on, time out. Have you found an ice cream cake that puts nuts in it, or do you add to it?
So maybe I am completely wrong, but maybe ask. I think Grandma used to put cashews in her ice cream cake. She could be completely wrong, though. I that could just be a dream that I had, because it sounds
here's the thing.
great.
I love nuts in ice cream. I'm a sucker for any kind of ice cream.
I think she did. I think she did.
She ahead of the game.
Yeah.
No, I did not have nuts in it. Now I regret it.
I think you are.
Okay, 2016. This one's me, right?
Yes, sir.
Another kind of not great year for trades. I think in part because you had the summer of 2016 where every team had cap space. So I don't know if teams just were not trading as much. Ultimately, what I went with, and it is more of for the symbolism of it all, I did Derrick Rose, Justin Holiday, and a second-round pick. You too?
Wow. Yeah, I did. And I was honestly panicked and so relieved when you were going to go first, because I assumed I missed on a big trade, and I was going to be like, oh, I picked that one too. Because I didn't. There was no big trades this year.
No, there weren't. There won't. It was one of the weird years, and actually, like looking at it, even 2015 and 2014, like there's not a whole lot interesting that happens on the trade front in this like 3-year stretch.
Yeah.
I just thought like the Derrick Rose era ending in Chicago was something that I wanted to bring up here. We've talked about Rose a couple times, kind of indirectly. We haven't done a Derrick Rose game. But man, yeah, like just a bummer how it worked out. And obviously he goes to New York. It's not like anything substantial happens there. Chicago gets Jose Calderon, Jerry and Grant, and Robin Lopez for him. Like nothing really moves the needle. But that is kind of indicative of what the trade landscape looked like in 2016. The only other one I had listed as an honorable mention was Serge Ibaka to Orlando, and then Victor Oladipo, Ersan Ilyasova, who I loved Ilyasova, and Domantas Sabonis, the draft rights to Domantas Sabonis going to Oklahoma City, which is a more consequential trade, but I still went with Derrick Rose to New York as my pick.
Yep. And I'll just copy what you just said. Yeah, just not that big of a trade market that year. So yeah. On to 2015. So again, I couldn't find many like blockbuster trades, but I do think that there was a trade that immediately swung into a championship, and that's Cleveland acquiring J.R. Smith and Shumpert from New York to complete their starting lineup. It also sent Dion Waiters away, which I think needed to happen.
Certainly did.
Yeah. I just thought, like, up to that point, there was probably a stigma that maybe he never grows out of. But I just felt like JR was great for Cleveland. I thought he was significantly better than I anticipated. His defense was there and it was present, which I wasn't sure it was going to be. He obviously gave him, 3-point shooter, and he was able to stretch the floor. And then Shumpert was just another, defender 3-and-D guy that they could bring off the bench, and they needed those two guys when they were playing against Golden State. So I thought it led to a championship. So I'll go with Shump and JR to Cleveland.
So I kind of cheated with this here. That was my runner-up pick, but I actually had two as a tie.
That's fair.
And I'm only doing it because I'm fascinated by what the Phoenix Suns were thinking at the time. So they made two separate deals that removed Goran Dragic and Isaiah Thomas from their roster. And that was right after that, like 1 year. Remember when Jeff Hornacek was coaching Phoenix and they had Dragic and Isaiah and Eric Bledsoe and they were playing all three together?
Yes, I do.
And just like super small and playing fast. They blow that up. They trade Dragic and his brother Zoran Dragic, package deal to Miami. They get back Danny Granger, John Salmons, and 2 first-round picks in the deal. They also trade for Marcus Thornton and a protected 2016 first-round pick and send Isaiah Thomas to Boston, which we just kind of hit on Isaiah. He goes on to become a top 5 MVP candidate. Mm-hmm. Improbably. Like one of the stranger things that's happened where he is just like an absolute killer in crunch time and averages like 28 points per game for the Celtics.
So good that
year. He really was.
So good that year.
It was like an out-of-body experience for him. He was excellent. Funny story about Isaiah Thomas. I saw him play when he was in college in the Sweet 16 in Syracuse, New York, when he was playing for Washington. They played West Virginia, and I went with my dad. We saw that game, and we saw Kentucky against Cornell. But for that Washington West Virginia game, I don't know who the person was behind us, but there was a guy like 2 rows behind us who, no lie, every time Isaiah Thomas touched the ball, yelled as loud as he could, "Shoot it!" Like, the ball would be inbounded. It was like he had to be joking, because like there were times when the ball was inbounded to him and he was like at the opposite free throw line and he was yelling it. It was every time the ball touched his hands.
I love that, honestly. That's great.
The commitment to the bit was just second to none. So props to that guy. Props to Isaiah. Okay, 2014.
Yeah, you go.
I'm on this one. Really, I think the only option is Kevin Love to Cleveland, Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, Thaddeus Young to Minnesota, Luke Mbamute, Alexei Shved, and a 20? Well, I developed an accent there for a second. A 2015 first-round pick. I dated myself to like the 1920s. I was like Gatsby there for a second.
Here, that's from Montenegro. Major J. Gatsby for valor extraordinary. That's right. And this is something I always carry with me, a souvenir of Oxford days. I was taken in Trinity Quad. The man on my left is now the Earl of Doncaster. What could I say? The photograph was undoubtedly authentic. Could it all be true? But of course you don't need to take my word for it, old sport. At lunch today, I'm going to introduce you to one of New York's most distinguished businessmen, a Mr. Meyer Wolfsheim, my good friend. And he will confirm all I have told you and vouch for my good character. Oh, I'm sure that's not necessary. Oh, but it is, though. See, I thought you ought to know something about my life. I didn't want you to think I was... Well, I didn't want you to think I was just some nobody. No, you see, old sport, I'm going to make a very big request of you today.
You got it. You got it right. That was my pick too. So
You don't want to make the case for Evan Turner and Lavoy Allen to Indiana?
you don't know, but I loved Evan Turner at
so good at Ohio State.
Oh, he wore the elbow wristband. He kind of had a little bit of your game, a little triple double guy. Yeah, but
my senior year, that is why I really grew to appreciate Evan Turner, because I felt like kind of a similar game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So that's my pick as well. Now in 2013, I think it's one of those trades that, and we were talking about it when we were talking about the Luka trade, how initially it might not, jump out and be like, wow, this was such a lopsided trade. But 2013, the Brooklyn Nets trade for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce from the Boston Celtics. And they get, I believe, 4 first-round picks from that trade. 2 of them turn into Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now,
that's not bad.
Not horrible. Brooklyn did go to the playoffs. Paul Pierce called game, and I think they won a series. Actually, that might have been in Washington. Did that? I'm not even sure.
He was in Washington for that.
Yeah, I don't even know if they won a playoff series in Brooklyn. I do know they
won. I know they won once, and they won it in 2014, their first year there, because it set up a second-round series against Miami.
Right.
And LeBron just absolutely torched Paul Pierce one game.
Yep.
And I loved every second of it.
Absolutely. I mean, at the time of the trade, Garnett was 37 and Paul Pierce was 35. So to give up that haul for older guys, quite the risk. Didn't necessarily work out, and obviously it led to what we're currently in with Boston.
Easy choice. The only one really that and it's not even on that level, but Philadelphia trading Drew Holiday and getting the draft rights to Nerlens Noel and a 2014 first round pick, that was like, I think you could make the case maybe the unofficial start to the process. Getting rid of Drew and like going, we have Michael Carter Williams and we have Nerlens Noel and we're just going young, and then the next year they draft Embiid. Like that trade kind of starts the process for them. So just as an honorable mention candidate, that's what I would go with. But yeah, the KG and Pierce to Brooklyn, like, remember how hyped that Nets team was?
Yeah, I mean they brought in
Brooke
Jason
Lopez.
Terry. They
Yeah.
they already had Deron Williams was there. Yeah, their starting lineup was D. Will, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Garnett, and Brooke Lopez. Jason Terry was off the bench. Yeah, it didn't pan out, and they came in. I think it was right after Brooklyn moved from New Jersey, and they got a new owner. So it might have paid off from a business standpoint. I'm sure they sold a lot of tickets. But
A lot of tickets, a lot of jerseys. Yeah. Also would throw out there, Andre Iguodala gets traded to Golden State that summer.
Yeah, that's sneaky.
Which is one we probably should bring up.
Absolutely.
Finals MVP 2 years later. All right, 2012. We got a couple doozies in 2012. I think because it maybe had the most long-lasting effect, I will go with the James Harden trade, where him, Cole Aldrich, Daquan Cook, Lazar Hayward go to Houston for Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, 2 protected first-round picks, and a second-round pick. Just months after, the Thunder make the NBA Finals with this trio of guys all under 25 years old. Still, like, we did our What Ifs episode a couple weeks back. Still one of the biggest what ifs, I think, in recent NBA history is what if the Thunder just keep that team together.
Yeah.
I think we're probably looking at a championship pre-SGA if they do keep those 3 together. And then for Houston's sake, like, they graduate into, we are going to be a perennial contender in the Western Conference. We are going to have an MVP candidate on our roster right away. Like, Harden immediately goes to averaging high 20s per game in points. But man, there are a bunch of good options for this year. I'm curious, was that your pick?
It was mine, and the reason and you kind of just touched on it. It felt like it just sprung another superstar into the league.
Yeah.
He was 6th man of the year and all that, but he was immediately a superstar. So to go from a bench player to a guy who's top 5 scorer in the league, that's what I picked. But I'm interested. What were some of the other ones?
So we had the big 4-teamer that sent Dwight Howard to LA.
Yep.
And Andre Iguodala to Denver and Bynum to Philadelphia and a whole bunch of stuff to Orlando, none of which really panned out. Joe Johnson to Brooklyn happens in 2012. Steve Nash to LA. Kyle Lowry to Toronto. Andrew Bogut and Steven Jackson to Golden State for Monte Ellis, which, if we're looking at the
make room for Steph.
Like, was it going to be Monte or Steph who Golden State trades? Like, that choice is a big one. And then this is a stealth one, but New Jersey trades for Gerald Wallace. And they send Mehmet Okur, Sean Williams, and a 2012 first-round pick that turns into Damian Lillard.
Ooh. Okay. But
the right choice is hard.
Yeah. That's obviously the splash. It's hard. He's
Well, really, the splash might have been Dwight to L.A.
That was the splash. Yeah, in the moment, you look at it now at all of them, and I think it's Harden. But yeah, I mean, in the moment, that team was there to compete with Miami. I mean, you bring in Nash, you bring in Dwight, you got Kobe and Pa and Meta. Like, yeah, that I was most confident as a Lakers fan going into that year out of any of the years that they won.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now we are at 2011, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna break a rule that you kind of talked about earlier. I'm picking CP again, for a different reason this time. So I'm going Chris Paul to the Clippers, and the reason I am picking it is the impact of the Lakers trade being rescinded. I don't know.
This trade is almost like a package deal where you have to mention the Lakers one.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, it creates Lob City, and him and Blake take off. Would have almost liked to see Blake without Chris Paul to see what he would have turned into. But regardless, it takes over the league. They're kind of like the pretty new object that everyone enjoys. But ultimately, it's majority because of what could have been, and like what a weird situation that it was. I think it did impact the Lakers in a negative way. They never got Lamar Odom back. I felt like Pa kind of wasn't ever back to his peak performance. So yeah, I mean, great win for the Clippers, horrible loss for the Lakers.
And it, in addition to that, it sets the Clippers up as not only the shiny new object, but what looks like a title contender.
Yeah.
And it sends New Orleans in a direction where they get Anthony Davis with the first overall pick in 2012.
Yep.
So there are a lot of tentacles coming out of this one. I think the only other one is the Carmelo trade.
Yeah.
Which, happens at the trade deadline 10 months prior to that. And that makes the Knicks the shiny new toy for a couple months there, where you have Melo in the Garden, you have Amari. It completely changes the trajectory, I think, of the Knicks. If not because it really impacts winning in a major way. I mean, they only win, I think, one series with Carmelo the whole time he's there. But just the way, you could put the Knicks on national TV now, and it makes sense for the league. The Knicks are no longer a detriment to have on Christmas Day. They belong.
Absolutely.
Okay, 2010. I went with this one isn't big on the surface. This was one that I picked because it swung a title. And it's Tyson Chandler to Dallas.
Great pick.
For Eric Dampier, Eduardo Nahara, and Matt Carroll, who end up going to Charlotte. There aren't a ton of great choices in 2010. This one had the most immediate effect. Not only does it send Chandler to a championship caliber team where he anchors that defense. They win the title the very next year. But that year in Dallas gets him paid. Charlotte, they're just a mess for another 5-6 years. It's tough. There isn't a great other choice to have. My backup pick was actually Cleveland trading for Antoine Jameson because it was the last swing that they made trying to like get help around LeBron.
Yeah.
What did you have?
I apologize. I was deep in my bag here. I got Chris Humphries to the Nets because it led to a Kim Kardashian wedding that lasted 72 days. So Chris Humphries goes to the New Jersey Nets, but at the time they were close to New York, and that's when him and Kim K start to have their romantic relationship, which leads to them getting engaged and married 4 months later, and then they're divorced after 70 days. So there wasn't a lot of picks. I
mean, for pop culture purposes, you picked the right one.
I'll
give you that.
I apologize. I mean, I've never been so happy for you to be like, yeah, there really wasn't a lot of good picks. And I was like, thank God, because he's going to hate me after my pick.
No, I do not hate you. I guarantee you that would be the only trade that warranted like tabloid responses.
Right.
So
yeah.
Hey,
she lost her
we're all
earring. Like, come on, we wouldn't have got that if that trade didn't happen.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna make up
You're
for
right.
that, and I'm gonna go 2009. I'm gonna go with your boys down in Memphis landing Zebo. Don't really think there's a better fit for a team. It was just the perfect combination of what the player needed, what the team needed. Grit and grind like that. It was a perfect match. So it was an easy pick for me when I looked at it.
No, that's a great one. And Zebo's 2011 playoff run, I think back on that. Every once in a while, I'll pop some grit and grind Grizzlies, like YouTube clips. And it's not like they have a fantastic highlight reel. Like, that's not the gist of their team. But every once in a while, I just want to see, like, Zebo hitting someone with a pivot.
Yep, jab step.
Like a jab step. Hit him a few times with that. One shot fake and come up with that lefty mid-ranger.
Yep.
My pick was actually, so this is a strange one. I went Randy Foye and Mike Miller to Washington. They traded the draft rights to Ricky Rubio, a Russian whose name I can't pronounce, Darius Sungaila, and Etan Thomas to Minnesota. I threw that one in there just because that meant that Washington and Minnesota both had a shot at Steph Curry, and they both passed on him.
Yep.
I think another rare losers all around trade.
Yeah.
Although Rubio was fun. Young Rubio had a stretch there where
it was worth the pick too, without a doubt.
We said it a while back. I have said it at least, I think, on 2 podcasts with you. The right move for Minnesota was taking Rubio and Steph. Mm-hmm. Johnny Flynn was where they fudged up.
Yeah. 6 overtime game got to their heads.
That did it.
Got to everyone's heads. Yeah. So 2008, that's you, I believe.
It is. Man, there are 3 trades that I had a really hard time with. One selfishly that I wanted to throw out there, which was Mo Williams to Cleveland, just because I love Mo. Now, I think the conventional pick here would be Powell. If only because it gives us the opportunity to do a Stephen A. Smith impression.
The city of LA should be throwing a parade.
They gave up Kwame Brown. I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to go, and this is another kind of losers all around trade, but it's interesting to me. Sean Marion and Marcus Banks to Miami, and Shaq going back to Phoenix. Signaling the end of the 7 seconds or less era for Phoenix. We had an episode about them a few months back. Just one of the most watchable, entertaining, endearing teams that we've had in the Campfire era. And it didn't really make any sense to me why they traded for Shaq.
No, yeah.
They had won the 06 title, and by the time you get to the championship, it's like Dwayne Wade is carrying that team on his back. Things just fall out in Miami the next 2 years. Props to Shaq. He ends up making third team All NBA. So maybe you could say that this is that salvages it for Phoenix. But I remember being bummed at the time that the Suns made the trade because it felt like this just goes against everything that made this team so much fun.
Yeah, I think they got spooked with Amare. At that point, his knees started to kind of go.
Yeah. And
I felt like they were, without Amare, that you couldn't really be the 7 seconds or less Suns.
But I'm going to push back on that a little bit, if only because he was out the whole 2005-06 season. And Nash still won an MVP.
Right.
They worked it out without him. They went super small. They increased the pace. Obviously, Amari is your number one guy. He's your leading scorer. I get that. I just don't think pivoting to Shaq is the correct response.
Was D'Antoni gone at that time? Did they go to? Was it Mark L3? What I've just butchered his name.
Wait, who?
Was it Mark?
Didn't they go Alvin Gentry after?
Was it Alvin Gentry? Yeah, I think you might be right.
I think this actually might have been D'Antoni's last year.
Yeah, so
yeah.
It's really...
The 07-08 season was D'Antoni's last year with them. He goes to New York the next year.
Yeah. No real reason then. If you have D'Antoni as your coach to bring in Shaq.
D'Antoni and Nash?
Yeah.
What do you... that just neuters Nash. You want him running screen and rolls and playing with pace,
Yeah, I mean, he was still a really good jump shooter, but yeah, it takes the ball out of his hands quite a bit. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. Probably lose-lose situation. Marion didn't really do much, and the Heat struggled quite a bit until, they're obviously the big three came. I am going to go Paul. I actually think it's a win-win for both. So,
sure.
Memphis gets Kwame, Javaris Crittenton, Aaron McKee.
He's got small hands.
Yeah, he doesn't have a post move he could remember. But they also bring in Marc Gasol, who turns into a defensive player of the year. He's kind of their anchor. I felt like he turns into Memphis's real leader and face of the franchise for quite a while. And it leads to back-to-back championships for the Lakers. So, it gives Kobe over the hump. Without Pa, Kobe doesn't win 4 and 5. Where does that put his legacy? So, yeah, Pa to the Lakers, 2008. Book it.
Can we just throw out the 2 additional names that you haven't mentioned who are in that trade? There was Aaron McKee. Aaron McKee still floating around in the NBA in 2008, which that was strange to me. And then Javaris Crittenton, who ended up being a murderer.
Yeah, that'll happen to you. There's a documentary on. There's a documentary out on him, right?
I have not watched the Javaris
I think
Crittenden
there is. I think it's on Netflix.
documentary.
Because he was involved with Gil, correct? In the
they pulled the guns on each other in the Wizards locker
he is in a
room.
documentary then. He tries to turn his life around. Give it a watch.
Okay. 07.
So I cheated on this one too. I think you cheated
2 for 1.
earlier. A little 2-for-1 action. I'm going to go Garnett and Allen to Boston. Believe Garnett goes first, and then they bring Allen in on the draft. It's probably to me, from what I could remember, like the first big three kind of ever created through transaction, not necessarily through draft. And it creates a chain reaction. Like, people always say how Miami kind of started this, and LeBron definitely did push the player empowerment movement, way further than what it was. But the idea of, like, let's get our friends together to play together and team up, to me, Boston started that.
Hey, Scott, man. We're working on these nicknames.
All right.
We got a couple.
Okay.
The Parquet Posse. The Three Basketeers. Mirage Etoile. It's French. Or we can go with the Three Amigos. What you think?
The Boston 3-Party.
See, I like that. See, this man's a professional. Hey, Scott, thank you, man.
That's what I thought.
Let's go work on the other bit.
It's kind of confusing too, because Boston fans are the ones who tend to complain about LeBron the most. But that's my pick.
They just don't like that LeBron got him in 2011 and in 2012.
Yeah.
No, so I did the very same thing. What is always interesting to me, and when we did our what ifs episode, did we say we weren't doing anything with the draft?
Correct.
For that. So if I were gonna do a what if that had to do with the draft, my what if would be, what if that Boston pick that they included in the Ray Allen trade, that was Jeff Green, what if that was the first or second pick and they had a chance at Durant? Do they give that up to get Ray Allen? Or do they pivot and just say, we got our young guy, we'll try to kind of bridge the Pierce era with Durant and go forward with you two? Do they end up trading Pierce and just go all in young? Like, there are a lot of ripple effects from their pick falling to, what was it, 4 or 5?
Right. Yeah.
For Jeff Green. Because apparently Danny Ainge was enamored by Durant going into that draft.
Makes sense. So, yeah.
No, for good reason.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Danny Ainge, good eye for talent.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great what if. Yeah, it's... You would almost have to say yes, for sure. They wouldn't have touched Durant, but...
You have to keep Durant.
You got to keep Durant.
Okay, 2006. Another sort of end of an era pick for me here.
Crush me.
What's that?
They crush me.
AI to Denver?
Yeah.
What were you feeling at the time? So it's Allen Iverson and Ivan McFarlane to Denver for Andre Miller, Joe Smith, and 2 first-round picks.
I was a huge Ivan McFarlane fan, so it was...
That's why you hated it.
No,
Yeah,
I loved Iverson. I had, multiple jerseys. I had the Answer wristband. He was just Philly to me. He should have always stayed in Philly. They should have complained about him. He should have complained about Philly. They should have been fighting in the media, and that's just what it was. And I wish that's what it would have always been. it was a little intriguing that he was going to go play with Melo, who has had some early success his first couple of years into the league. But it was a huge trade, but it was an end of an era to me. It wasn't like something special that was going to come of it.
No, I agree. It was strange. I mean, maybe if we're just looking for a trade that was surprising, it doesn't compare to the Luka trade, but like, I don't know, 2006, I was 14, you were 13. It's not like I was like nose deep in hoops hype at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitter, like NBA Twitter wasn't a thing. I remember this trade surprising me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's clearly the number one pick here. We do have the end of an era for Ron Artest in Indiana.
Ooh.
Going to Sacramento for Peja.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting runner-up.
That is a good one. I didn't even know. Yeah, he went to Sacramento?
Yeah.
Cup of coffee, huh? How many games did he play?
I know that he took him to it was their last playoff appearance before the long drought. And they played San Antonio in round 1. And they actually, I think it was 4-2 that series. He played there. He played, let's see, 167 games with Sacramento. Two and a half seasons.
Yeah.
05-06. They beat San Antonio a game. He averaged 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists per game in that series.
Yeah, very solid.
Enthralling.
Very solid.
Okay, 05.
Yeah, 05 I had another end of an era. Another sad one. And it's weird because he's going to play with AI, but Weber to the Sixers. It just kind of felt like the waving of the white flag for Sacramento. They just couldn't get over the hump at that time. They started to get a little bit older. Weber started to break down a little bit. I mean, Vlade, he couldn't. It's too old. I understood it. It's not necessarily all that surprising. And then for Philly, like, you're trying to take a swing on a big name because you haven't been able to really bring anyone in to play with Iverson. So it made sense for both teams, but unfortunately I just felt like it was a little too late for Philly, and for Weber, it's not like he had much gas left in the tank.
What I don't get for Sacramento's purposes is why they went into this trade with a strategy of, we're just going to get the 3 most mediocre power forwards we can find in the league. Because they get Brian Skinner, Kenny Thomas, and Corliss Williamson. I don't know if they thought, like, okay, these 3 guys combined are going to give us, like,
a money ball,
28 and 15 a night.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but that's not how it works.
Yep.
That was my runner-up pick. I actually had Joe Johnson to Atlanta and Boris Diaw and 2 second-round picks to Phoenix. Not just because I love Boris Diaw, but because if you're Phoenix, how don't you pay a young Joe Johnson to pair him with Nash and Amari and Marion? Just
weird.
What are you thinking?
Very weird.
Okay, 2004. Few interesting ones. I think the big one, though. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go with a personal pick here. Well, okay. Now I want to know what you think I'm picking.
So I'm gonna think that you're gonna pick our guy Rasheed Wallace.
I'm actually not. I was gonna leave that one for you because I figured you were gonna do Rasheed.
I will do Rasheed. Yep.
So the obvious one is Shaq to Miami. The on-brand one for NBA Campfire is Rasheed to Detroit.
That's right.
But 11-year-old Sonny or 12-year-old Sonny watching Tracy McGrady go from Orlando to Houston was a huge bummer.
Yeah.
Because, man, McGrady just looked awesome in those Magic uniforms. And I love Tracy McGrady. And he's probably one of my most frequent, like, I'm going to watch this guy's highlights for a half an hour on YouTube while Maria is scrolling on her phone, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just love T-Mac. And I was so bummed that Orlando traded him.
Had awesome Adidas sneaks, too.
He really did. He was like the coolest motherfucker.
He was cool. There's some younger guys that I think the Banta. He screams T-Mac to me. But
oh, I'd love that.
All right, 2003. This one was a big one for little Vinney. So 10-year-old Vinney. At that time, I wasn't completely on the Bulls bandwagon. At that time, I was all in on my New York Knickerbockers. And Latrell Sprewell gets traded to the T-Wolves. And I remember being on a family vacation when this happened. And we went to a diner. And this is how old this was. I found out about it on the front page of the paper, and it said "Spree you later," and that's how I found out that Latrell.
That's so great.
That's how I found out Latrell Sprewell got traded.
I have where were you on vacation?
Jersey.
Out of curiosity.
We were in Jersey.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a similar kind of old school way of finding out about my choice for a trade for 2003. I went with Ray Allen. Mm-hmm. To Seattle for Gary Payton. And there are other guys in there. But I found that one out. It was on my birthday. I went to dinner with my parents. And we didn't go to a sports bar, but there was a restaurant that we went to that had a bar, and it had like a little box TV up in the corner of the bar, like no flat screens. Like you have to kind of like squint to look at it. I remember we were waiting for our table. I saw the trade from a distance and walked up to the bar area and saw it. And the bartender was like, "Hey, you can't be in here," because I was turning 11. But I was like, I need to see this trade.
Easy, Buster.
Why did Ray Allen and Gary Payton get traded for each other? So yeah, I remember that for my 11th birthday.
That's amazing.
That's fun. Spree you later. That is a great headline.
Spree you later. I was so pissed. But it actually worked out because I was a huge Wolves fan that year. And that kind of started my just complete lack of fandom in the NBA that's carried with me for the last 20 years. So...
Okay, 2002. I gotta say, it was difficult doing the older trade. Like, the older trades, the further back we get, it was hard because, like, I don't have as much of a memory of what the response was. But I do know that Chicago trading Ron Artest and Brad Miller and, to a lesser extent, Ron Mercer and Kevin Ollie to Indiana sparked a Pacers team that probably should have made a finals in that run. So that was my pick. Ron Artest going from Chicago to Indiana.
I'll go deep into the bag of NBA Campfire. We talked about this previously, but Mike Bibby to the Kings for white chocolate.
Wait, was that 2001?
Is that what we were on?
What year are you? I wasn't sure if you were given a runner-up or...
No, this was 2002. No, I might have been blanking. When did Bibby get traded to the Kings?
Maybe I took it down wrong. Yeah, that was 2001.
Okay. Dang it. Yep, June. So it was the 2002 year. It was the 2002 year. All right. Well, I'm gonna go with whatever you picked. That's what we have to go with. because I read it wrong. So I don't have a 2002 pick. I had Mike Bibby getting traded in 2002, but I do have a 2001 pick. Hopefully, I don't mess this one up. Jason Kidd to the Nets for Stephon Marbury. I mean,
Yep.
J. Kidd had an amazing career, specifically with New Jersey, leading them to back-to-back finals appearances. Kind of dominated the East for a little bit. So, yeah, that was my pick for 2001.
That was my pick as well. We're in lockstep there. I had Bibby for White Chocolate as a runner-up, just because I wanted to hear you say erotic again. But no, I mean, Kidd goes there, and what's crazy is, like, that doesn't swing the odds in any meaningful way. Like, New Jersey is still one of the teams expected to finish, like, near the bottom of the East, and they just win 50-plus games and make the finals his first year there. Like, solid pick. Okay, 2000, at the very beginning, start of Campfire. I'm going to go back to our very first episode where we were talking about Portland. Why didn't Jermaine O'Neal get more minutes for that Blazers team? Because he was about to get traded. He gets traded to Indiana along with Joe Klein for Dale Davis.
I mean, talk about slim pickings here, though. What
was your pick?
My last pick is the Kings trading for Doug Christie.
Okay.
I
From Toronto, right?
From Toronto, for Corliss Williamson. I mean, he was a great piece for the Kings. That's about as far as I could go on my analysis on that trade. It's crazy though what I kind of thought going into this process stayed true, where the trades kind of just got bigger and bigger and bigger as we got to where we are current day. And I think it's just, we're at a point where players are going to move. They're going to, do what's best for them. The money is much different now. So, teams also don't want to get stuck with an asset that they are just losing without any return. So there's a lot of more proactive trades to just protect themselves. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great exercise. But you could really tell that, like, the transactions and the movement around the league have significantly gone up in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, the whole mindset of the league has changed.
Yep.
And player empowerment being part of that, where guys can dictate, like, I want out, I want to go here. That's part of it. Like, the Jimmy Butler trade to Miami, like, he made it clear, I want to go to Miami.
Yep.
Paul George to the Clippers, like, that was part of a package deal with Kawhi.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis to LA, that's clutch.
Yep.
Like, it is all the players facilitating it, except the Luka trade, which brings us full circle where fucking nobody except Nico Harrison wanted it.
Yeah.
And Rob Pelinka and everyone in LA.
Yeah.
But no one in Dallas.
No. It was a one-team trade that they got what they wanted, and yeah. Crazy, go full circle back to it. But yeah, you're right. That was probably the only trade in the last 5 years that the player who got traded didn't want out. Yeah, it's crazy.
What also is crazy, one episode of season 1 of NBA Campfire left, Finn. I can't believe it.
I know. It's gone by quick.
We will be back for the final time this season next Friday. Thank you for tuning in, Vin. Thank you, as always. This was a whole bunch of fun. We've got to go record an episode of Modern Flame.
That's right. Grab your mallows.
See you, buddy.
See ya.